Hey, this is Tommy Victor from Prong, and you're watching and listening to the Heavy Galaxy Show. Heavy Galaxy Show. Matt and John are back here again, as this week we got a killer episode for everyone, as we'd like to welcome to the show from the mighty Black Label Society, as well as his outstanding new band, Dark Chapel. We got Mr. Dario Lorina joining us this week. What's up, Dario? Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. What's happening, guys?
Doing good, man. Thanks for coming, bud. So, we're obviously going to get into talking about both BLS and Dark Chapel. But first, Dario, given the trajectory of your musical career and history, we need to take our listeners, through your very unique, I would say, informative early journey into the music world that started out as a 16-year-old playing with the late Jani of MTV 80s sensation Warrant as his touring guitarist, man. I don't know if I've ever heard of someone at 16 playing with a platinum selling artist. It's, such a young age, man. So if you don't mind, take us through that initial experience entering the music business at such an early age. How did you, first of all, how did you get that gig, if you want to tell us?
I started playing guitar when I was young, like 6 years old, and my family was like just musical. Just my dad played drums, my mom was playing piano. So my family just loved music. So I was playing guitar, and then when I got into like middle school, that's all I thought about was playing guitar. And then I got into high school, and it was like, I just thought I was going to be a guitar player. Like if somebody thought they were going to play football or be a doctor or whatever, maybe that's a little delusional or whatever, but I'm going to play guitar. So I saw an ad on MySpace that Jani was looking for a guitar player. And I just sent a bunch of emails to this contact that was in that post on the bulletin board on MySpace. And then they ended up getting back to me, and we went back and forth, and they had me record some Warrant songs, and I panned like my guitar one side and the Warrant side the other side. And then they were digging it, so they had me come out and meet Jani. I was in Vegas at the time, moved here from Boston, and I met Jani in a rehearsal room in North Hollywood, and he played drums and sang like some of the Warrant songs, like Uncle Tom's Cabin, and we just jammed in this rehearsal room, and they were like, "Yeah, well, we got shows starting in 3 weeks or whatever," and wow. Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. I played with him for about 2 years. But that was my style. I loved that style of music at that time. Like I was all into 70s and 80s rock and metal and, guitar heroes of that era. And so, yeah, I was psyched. But yeah, I played with him for about 2 years.
That's awesome.
Who were your early guitar heroes?
So like, it's a stereotypical guitar player, but Van Halen, like when I can distinctly remember being 6, 7 years old, driving with my dad in his truck, and I'd be pulling tapes out of the glove box, and Van Halen 1 was like that magical tape that every time it went in there, it was like how is he making that guitar sound like that? Before you know how to play, you just think it's this magic that's happening. So even when you know how to play, it's still magical. So yeah, he was definitely number one. And then it became like, you know, I loved like Dream Theater and John Petrucci and Queensryche, like Chris D'Agamo, and then it was like Paul Gilbert and George Lynch, and of course Zakk. And I mean, going back before that, like Johnny Winter and guys like that. So I loved guitar playing.
Oh yeah. Now you also played, I know, right after with Jani, you played with Lizzie Borden, I know, for a while. And that was also while you were still a teen, I believe you started that. So I mean, here you are, you're playing for, you know, two big artists, two, you know, LA Sunset Strip bands, you know, before you turned 20 years old. I mean, what did those early experiences, you know, help? I should say, what did it really teach you about, you know, as a youngster, you know, the business itself that you were able to sort of use before, like, your second portion of your career, when you wound up obviously doing your solo records through Shrapnel, and then of course joining Black Label Society?
Yeah, I mean, I just, you know, Lizzie was, we had a mutual friend, the bass player, Matt Anderson, who was playing with Lizzie at the time. And this, the mutual friend was saying that, you know, they were looking for a guitar player. And I knew of Lizzie Borden, but I didn't know much of his catalog. And then as I started diving in, it was like he had guitar players that, you know, when I was learning that stuff to go audition, was like, wow, this is challenging. It helped me grow as a guitar player. But he always had great guitar players, and the music is really cool, and his show that he does is awesome. So I was with Lizzie for about 4 years, and I had a blast. Those guys are still like my brothers, their family, and they're actually all Vegas guys now. And but yeah, so another just guitar-oriented band.
Yeah. I mean, did you, like I said, you know, going through this experience at such a young age, I mean, did you, what kind of, like I said, I guess just like kind of lessons or whatever it is you learned so early that you were able to sort of like, you know, I guess, you know, use once you know, started, you know, working with Zakk and Black Label Society? I mean, was it just, you know, with touring and everything, and what kind of, what did you, get out of that? It's such a, other than obviously just being, you know, I'm sure like on top of the world feeling like playing with those bands who've had so much success. I mean, were you able to just sort of learn so much about the business, you know, from working with, you know, Jani, as we said, obviously a platinum, you know, selling artist at the time, and Lizzie Borden, obviously, you know, old Metal Blade, you know, band that was just, you know, obviously huge in the 80s in LA. Just talk about like the sort of experiences that you were able to kind of use going forward with your career.
Yeah, I mean, you absorb so much of it without realizing that you're absorbing it, and just, you know, like being around Jani, who was an incredible songwriter, and just little things you would hear about him talking about when he was writing this song, or, you know, he's working on this new piece, and just how he was approaching songwriting. And of course, his showmanship and, you know, his melodies and his lyrics were incredible. So as like you're learning that music, you're absorbing it. Same thing with any other band that you're playing with. But and then of course, like playing with Lizzie and going into Black Label, like starting with Jani at 16, and, you know, I had guys in that band like Mike Fasano and Troy Patrick Farrell and some of these other guys that were in the band that took me under their wing, and really, like, I mean, I was 16 years old. I mean, I just was like wide-eyed, kept my mouth shut. I just was like psyched to be there. You know what I mean? So you're learning a lot just from being around those guys. But those guys were an awesome way to start everything. They're like my big brothers. But then it's just experience of, like, if you're a fighter, you're gaining that, like, in the ring experience of, like, if something goes wrong, how do you recover? If this happens, how do you recover? It's the same idea, and just career growth that I'd imagine happens in other careers too. You just kind of gain this experience along the way.
That's pretty cool, your parents, to let you take off like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom was a little harder to convince, but she still let me. She was like, okay, if you finish the school, I finished school online, and every time we were back, I just went and did like these packets that I would study. And but yeah, no, they've always been totally supportive.
When did you move to Vegas?
I was about 12.
Oh, okay. You still have that accent, man. That's pretty impressive. Yeah.
Committed.
My parents are in Vegas still, and I mean, you know, I talk to them on a daily basis, so they still have it. And all my family's back in Boston, so
okay.
if I talk to them, they have it. Yeah.
And I know that you and I have a number of mutual friends. One of them that's been part of your career trajectory and everything else is Mike Varney.
Yeah,
When did you
definitely.
link up with Mr. Varney?
Yeah, so Mike really was such a huge part of this journey for me, and I'm so forever grateful to him, because when I was I don't know, maybe when I had first got to Vegas and I was getting heavy into guitar, guys that I was into like Paul Gilbert and George Lynch and Richie Kotzen and all these guitar players have been a part of what I was learning of Shrapnel Records at the time, or Mike Varney was always this name that was getting tossed around, and so my drummer friend and I that I went to high school with, we would make demos and I would send them to Mike, and then I forget how, either I had his email or I don't know, but I would just send it to him, and then after a few times of that, I must have sent a few good ones. He's like, all right, I think we can do something with this. So that led into my first instrumental album with Mike, and then that came out on Shrapnel, and then like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months after that is when I joined Black Label, and then during that time, a few years later, I did another instrumental with Mike.
And what years are we talking at this point?
So the first one came out in 2013, I think, and then I joined Black Label 2014, and then I did the second one, Death Grip Tribulations, in 2017.
Very cool. How did you hook up with Zakk? How did you get that gig with BLS?
So I knew Blasco. So Blasco played with Zakk, with Ozzy, and so I was friendly with Blasco, and I think I was emailing him about that album, the instrumental album that was coming out in 2013, and I was just trying to like get some stuff going, and it would just happen to be around the same time that Black Label was looking for a guitar player, or going to be looking for a guitar player, and it just kind of fell into place in that way. And then kind of similar process, they had me record some songs, but they wanted me to do some videos, or Blasco was like, make some videos you playing the Black Label songs. And I had like a living room studio at the time, so I set my living room up and like filmed these videos playing the Black Label songs and sent them off. And then I did a couple songs where I was singing and playing acoustic on some of Zakk's Book of Shadows album that he did. Yeah. And yeah, that's pretty much how it was. They had me come out to LA. I met Zakk out of the studio, and I was like, I got a hotel room the night before because I wanted to be there on time, and I'm thinking LA traffic and all this. And I was in the hotel room all night practicing and jamming and learning. And I get to Zakk's. We didn't even jam. We just hung out. Like, okay, cool. Yeah.
Wow.
But I imagine he saw the videos that got sent over. But yeah, so that was 2014.
Wow. That must have been a wild journey to think all that stuff and getting prepared and nervous and everything. And you had never met Zakk, right, until that moment?
Yeah, not formally, just like quickly in passing, a couple times. But yeah, that was like our first formal meeting. Yeah,
that's cool. Who else was in the room?
It was just me and Zakk and Blasco.
Cool.
Oh,
yep.
Nice.
Yeah. And I know Blasco as well. Cool cat.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of stuff. Really involved with the business. That's for sure.
Definitely.
And then Black Label Society. I mean, geez, when you first joined, what kind of venues were you playing? What bands were you guys matched up with for tours? Or tell us a bit about the beginnings of Black Label Society for you.
When I first joined, I guess, so that 2014, that was the first tour that I did was with Down. So it was Black Label Society, Down, and the Butcher Babies. And I think if I remember correctly, I want to say it was Down, but yeah. So
wow.
Venue wise, I can't really remember. A lot of cool places. But the very first show that I did with Black Label was during a NAMM show at the Grove in Anaheim. That was my first Black Label gig. And then I did I can't remember the time frame, but I did an acoustic tour with Zakk, and that was either first or right after, because I remember like I was learning the acoustic set at the same time I was learning the heavy Black Label set, and I was learning it all at one time. But yeah, so we did an acoustic tour and one Black Label show, and then yeah, we've been touring with Black Label since then.
Did you ever ask him if he could put the headdress on?
You know what? I've never played Crazy Horse with Black Label live. So.
Oh,
wow,
yeah.
okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, then there you go. Yeah.
Even though it's one of my favorite songs, I think it's awesome. It'd be killer to play that live.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if I'm doing my math right, Dario, I mean, that means, you by that time you joined Black Label Society, you're in like your mid-20s, early 20s at that point, correct?
I was 24, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, most musicians would pretty much be over the moon if that was their entire career's worth, what you accomplished by the time you were 24. I mean, when you have like so much success, like that, by the time, like you said, you meet your, barely reach your mid-20s, and considering it now you've been with Zakk for, more than a decade. I mean, I guess how challenging is it to sort of, not, I guess, rest on your laurels, even though you had so much success, right? But we all know the music business, right? It's a crazy thing. I mean, you could be up here 1 minute and then boom, down there. I mean, were you always aware and had a good, steady head, knowing that, like, okay, even though things are going great right now, I mean, I still got to kind of work at it, and things can always change, and you got to keep, I guess, maybe trying different things or pushing new boundaries or so forth, right? Because that is, like I said, what you accomplished by 24, and most musicians would be, over the moon, like I said, if they did that their entire career, So how challenging is it not to rest on your laurels like that?
Yeah, I mean, this is just like all of us, I'm sure, or people who love music. I just love music, and I love playing guitar, and I love writing music and making music. And so if I wasn't doing this for a living, I'd still be doing this. But it's all about waking up, putting the work boots on, and every day doing it. So I'm still here doing it. So I'm grateful for that. And but I just what I love to do. So it's burning fire.
Good perspective early on when it comes to work ethic and the hustle. I could tell, emailing in working with people and all that. That's a massive part of the business. A lot of musicians don't even get really. It kind of comes hard. So that's a really bonus for you you were able to just push your way through there and do it so coolly. I don't know anyone that doesn't think you're cool. Everyone thinks you're cool. And I remember Varney telling me about you a number of years ago. I've known him now for like 6-7 years in Vegas. He likes going to my Planet Desert Rock and like Stoner Rock shows and stuff like that I've done over the years. And he goes, you're gonna have to check out my friend Dario or something like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And and I'm like, oh, okay, instrumental. I give Mike a little bit of a hard time because I'm not an instrumental guy necessarily, as much as he's famous for the shredders of the world, and I love the guitar.
Yep.
Guitar is my God. I worship him when it comes to music, but it's and he's like, no, he can sing too. I'm like, oh, that'd be interesting. When was the first time you kind of sang, like as far as on recording?
On recording, well, so when I was playing with Jani, he would joke all the time, like, you got to learn to sing and you got to learn to play slide guitar. Like that was just a joke. And then I met his vocal coach that like taught him when he was 19. He actually Jani lived with this guy. His name was Ron Feldman in Florida, I believe. And so I met this guy at a show with Jani in Florida, and he was like, I'm gonna give you vocal lessons. So at like midnight, I'm in my hotel room, and he's showing me like how to breathe and sing scales or whatever. And then I just met with him on Zoom like once a week for a few years after that, and he showed me, I was just playing chords on the piano, like what I could figure out off the guitar, but he would show me like how to play the scale and then how to sing the scale, and we did a lot of that kind of work. And then I was learning songs every week to just sing and perform with him. And so that's just kind of where my singing started. But just as a musician, you kind of grow as like, I was always playing guitar, and then now I'm writing songs, and I'm writing songs just instrumental, but I'm hearing a vocal melody. And then it's like, well, let me just try to sing that vocal melody, but I have no idea how to do this. And then I'm learning singing, and now it's just kind of, now I write the song and I sing on the song. But the first recording, I played at Jani's memorial service that they had, and it was a song that I wrote, and I was in LA recording the song at the studio, and that same week or weekend, whatever it was, is when I found out that he had passed away. And the song just like took on this meaning because the lyrics where it just kind of became about that. And I played it as memorial. So that might've been like the first time that was like a video recording.
That's wild.
That I can think of. Yeah.
And that's special too. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, speaking
that
of,
must have been some wild times. Geez, your inauguration between 16 and 24, in this business, rock and roll is a crazy wild world, right? And partying and everything else. How were you able to maintain the work-life balance, we'll say?
I mean, I like to have a good time, but I never did anything crazy. And, the Lizzie guys, their thing was like a shot of Jaeger before a show. It was like their toast thing. But, adrenaline's running. You do it, you barely even feel it. But, we had a lot of good times. But, it's still, you still got to function, and it's still a business at the end of the day, as much fun as you want to have, but yeah.
Have you ever seen a train wreck at a show that you've played at? Maybe not your band, but maybe another band where someone is just out there. I'm not going to ask for a name, not unless you want to give it. But like, have you ever, I just wonder, because you've been you're a guy that's been around. So this, you had to have seen where someone's maybe a little too much on stage.
I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I know one night the Jaeger was a little extra thick that night. Whoever poured it, and it got me. And I remember feeling up there like, wow, this is the most glow I've ever had up here. So I'm not gonna reach this level anymore. But yeah.
How was your performance from it? Was it? Did you feel like you didn't do as well, or you did better than
loose?
It felt great. It felt great. But, I haven't seen any video, so I guess that's a good thing. Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah, I mean, I asked that because I went to a show in Orlando, Florida, when Filter was like pretty hot still. And Richard Patrick was out of his mind, like out of it. And he ended up like on the ground towards the end, right when he's supposed to do Airplane, which was like that poppy song that, got a zillion plays. And he was on the ground, and the band, the guys in the, the bass guitarists were around him, and they actually kind of started kicking him a little bit because he was going to pass out. And so he went to rehab the next day. So I have that claim to fame, and he's even apologized to Orlando and came back and played for free at some point.
Well, that's pretty nice.
Yeah. In like a little outdoor area that could have been more than a couple hundred of us. It's pretty funny, but when I saw him, he was at Hard Rock. It was wild shit, man. But anyways, I imagine the Down guys were some partiers, that's for sure. Did some shows with them.
Oh yeah. Well, speaking of singing, you were talking about singing there, Dario. So let's get into the latest, I should say, debut album from your new band, Dark Chapel, titled "Spirit in the Glass." I remember, John actually pointed me in the direction of the record. And after listening to the first time, the first thing I told him was that it's so efficiently balanced musically, with up tempo and groovy mid tempo, heavy tracks. You've got the melodic, acoustic and piano songs in the middle, as well as the blues-based ones towards the end of the record. And to me, what really allows, I think, the listener to resonate with the record after just one or two listens, that I love about the album is the sequencing. Just example. You've got. What I find really unique is the tracks "Dead Weight" and "Dark Orders," the piano, and both pretty much obviously acoustic songs, and one just with piano. It's rare, I would say. It might be maybe the first time I've even seen or heard two tracks like that back to back in the middle of a record. Usually there's like one in the middle, maybe one at the end or two at the end. But I just think it was such a unique and wise choice to do it, and I think really. A lot of people underestimate really the power and I think importance of sequencing. If you've got 10 outstanding tracks, which you do on this record, and just how you lay them out, I just think it's, like I said, it's a phenomenal record. How much emphasis was, if at all, really was put on, I would say, the approach in terms of the sequencing, like I said, which to me really I think is an important piece of this record, and really just showcases and allows the listener just to really embrace the whole thing. And like I said, one or two listens and really. It grabs you. It really does.
No, that's awesome that you say that, because I definitely put an emphasis on like ordering the songs like what I would try to order if it was going to be like a live show. If the album was a live show, this is kind of how I would try to place them. So yeah, a lot of emphasis went into it. Thinking that still somebody would listen to it from front to back like you would a CD or a record. But I mean, you can still listen to it front to back on Spotify or streaming or whatever. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different styles on there, like you're saying, with the piano and the acoustic, and then it's mixed in with the heavy stuff. And even when I say heavy, I feel like there's different styles of heavy. Like there's We Are Remade heavy, and then there's All That Remains is like a more bluesy heavy. But like I recorded half of this album like in 2020, 21, maybe actually 2020. So like songs like Afterglow was like one of the first songs that I had, and Corpse Flower, those two songs like I have had for a long, long time. And then I recorded them with like We Are Remade and Gravestone Humanity, a couple other songs, and that was like early on. And then I was on the road with Black Label for a long time, and then when I came back and I wanted to finish this, then new songs got on there, like Hollow Smile and Bullet in Our Chamber and some of those songs. I guess Dead Weight and Dark Waters, I had those also. Those were like early on songs. So the recording of the record's like split up between like 4 or 5 years, which is kind of crazy when I think about it.
Where did you record it?
So I did all the drums and all the bass. Well, I guess those early songs I did at Count's Desert Moon, Stoney's and the Count's place. Their studio's awesome, so I did the drums there. And then when I came back to record the new songs, I did drums at Ron Mancuso's Studio 77. And all the guitar and stuff, all the rhythms I did at Stoney's Count's Desert Moon. And then all the like solos and stuff. Once that's done, I bring it here and I do it all from here, solo wise. And same idea. Vocals were split between the two places, just because time frame wise.
Yeah. Well, the vocals. I'm sorry.
Did you say who produced it?
Yeah.
I mean, I just kind of was producing it, as I'm going along. Just I just have the vision for what I am hearing and how I want the songs to come out. So yeah, I wouldn't even think of the word produce it. I just made it. You know what I mean? I just made the album.
Yeah.
Now with your vocals, one of the things you really did do is you really succeeded, which is super difficult to do, obviously, in really creating your own, your own voice. I mean, your own signature sound. Because when someone hears it, like now, if I hear it, I mean, I'll know immediately that it's you singing. It definitely has a distinct tone and nature to your vocals. I mean, how did you work really like a long time? How difficult was it to really hone in or really find your voice, as they say, right? I mean, did it take some time to do that, or did it come kind of pretty quick?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the singing thing is something I'm still working on and still finding and still growing with, especially after doing I've always sang backup. Like harmonies with Lizzie and Black Label. So I was used to singing, but then as I was like singing a full set or rehearsing like full set with Dark Chapel, where I was singing every song, 10, 11 songs, still finding my way with all that. But I mean, I took those vocal lessons, and then just recently, or I guess in like February, March of this year, I ended up taking some other vocal lessons, working on some things I had never practiced before, like different exercises with Katie Riggs, who was amazing. So yeah, something I'm still working on, but I love singing songs like Dead Weight and Dark Waters. Like that's the stuff I really love writing and singing,
Yeah, no, definitely. And with the lyrics now, I mean, there's songs obviously on the record that pertain to, personal losses as well as storytelling, including the song, which is probably my favorite track on the record, the last one, Bullet in Our Chamber. I love that song. Now invokes, obviously, I think I read it invokes the inspiration from legendary poet and writer Charles Bukowski. So talk a little bit about really, your lyrical inspiration. I mean, where do you tend to get, I guess your ideas and so forth, in terms of the lyrics for your songs?
I love writing lyrics. I feel like they're the most challenging thing, but I do spend a lot of time on trying to craft them. So if they were by themselves, if I were to read them, I would still find them like, interesting to read. So I love writing the lyrics, and I mean, I like to read poetry, and you kind of absorb that, just the way they're phrasing or the cadence of how those words are falling. And then I just like to read things that maybe way over my head, but they make my brain hurt and make me think about like another perspective, like, you know, philosophy or any kind of that stuff that just like one sentence will spark a way to think about something. And then, you know, from that thought, I can get a whole idea from that. But even if I'm writing about an idea, I feel like it's still relating to an emotion of some sort that I've had or an experience that's been had, and I'm just writing about it in a story kind of way. It's still coming from some kind of personal experience.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, I know, most of your career, you've been playing, obviously, obviously, as we're talking, you've been playing with artists who have been very successful, and therefore they've brought you obviously on board to add to the success of what they've, had going on in their careers. With Dark Chapel, this, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's obviously, I think it's your first band out where you've been obviously signed to a good label like MNRK, and you're now the main guy. So how different or challenging is it, if at all, going from that sort of support guy that you're doing with, Black Label Society, and you've done with Jani and Lizzie, and to now becoming the main guy and writer? I mean, is there any sort of, I don't want to say pressure, but is there, I guess, do you have something like, I want to prove to people that I'm not just, playing with other guys and contributing to their stuff, but I can do this just as good, on my own as well?
I'm just doing it because I love it, and I'm grateful to be with Monarch. They're amazing, and the songs are just out. Instead of being on my hard drive that I'm working on them, now they're out. So I'd still be doing it one way or the other. But I'm so happy to be with Monarch, and I'm psyched about Spirit in the Glass because it's the first one that I'm singing on, and I'm proud of it. So yeah,
I think it's a great album. I was there for your debut, your album release over at the now defunct Counts Vamped. That was one hell of a good night. We had a good showing of people as well. Tell me a little bit about, how did you feel that night at Counts Vamped?
I was psyched. It's crazy because, playing for live for however long, since I was 16 or whatever, this is still a brand new band and brand new guys jamming together. So it does take a minute for all those things to start to gel a little bit. You know what I mean? So that was really our third show as a band. We did our first two shows. We ended up opening for Zach Sabbath right at the beginning of the year, January, February, before the album even came out, which was the end of February. So the album release show, we had a little bit of time playing, but it was still early on. And I was psyched that night. It was a great night. I think the band sounded really great. Voice felt good. And and then the Fremont show a few weeks ago, that was a blast. And we look forward to the rest of the year, which we have a bunch of dates coming up. So yeah, it was psyched.
Yeah, you got Crows Conformity at the usual place.
Yeah.
That's going to be a super fun night. Small spot as well. Probably similar size to Vamped in some ways, but maybe a bigger main room kind of thing. Stage maybe not as high, but that's going to be fascinating to be able to catch that. Catch Crows Conformity and you guys there, and a couple other local bands as well, Sonolith and Pap Smear. Not familiar with them, but that name sure sticks out. But yeah, that's going to be really an interesting, a dynamic kind of show as well, sound wise. And it's really cool to see you kind of keep elevating. You got at least one guy in your band I've known from before a little bit, Dylan Dice.
Yeah,
done a bunch of different stuff and bands around here. It was pretty popular, actually, one of the more popular bands at one time. So
he's a great guitar player, nice guy. It's great.
Yeah, what was your process of putting a band together?
So wanted to try to find guys in Vegas, so I was just reaching out, word of mouth, texting people if they knew new guys, and that's pretty much how I found everybody. Dylan's awesome.
You're just working those phones, man. You're a hard worker. You know how to network. Tell you, like, all right, let's get on the phone, start asking people, hey, Mike Varney, you know anyone?
Yeah, totally.
You start with Varney and Stoney sometimes, and it kind of can go from there.
Yeah, 100%. Sure.
Yeah.
But so I mean, you've always, obviously been, Dario, the youngest, I would say, member, right? Usually in all these bands, probably a significant margin at that. So given the fact now that you've been playing with all these older veterans for most of your career, now all of a sudden you're, with guys at your age or younger and stuff. Is that a big change in a lot of ways for you too, with Dark Chapel?
No, I mean, it feels pretty much the same.
Okay.
Those guys have some good experience also. So yeah, it all feels smooth.
Nice. Okay. Now with BLS, what's happening? Obviously, Zakk's, been doing this thing with Pantera and everything, which, who knows how long that's going to go on for. It could go on for a while. I mean, is Dark Chapel, I guess, is that going to be, obviously, until BLS maybe gets back? Is this really your main focus, or are you going to do other, maybe things, other projects, or is it mainly this?
He's got Dark Chapel about to open up for Zakk Sabbath.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Did not know that. Very cool.
Yeah, we're going to open for Corrosion Conformity in October 17th in Vegas. And that's right before Zakk Sabbath, opening for Zakk Sabbath tour starts the end of October, beginning of November. And that'll go like 6.5 weeks or so. Psyched about doing that. But yeah, no, Black Label's working on stuff, and Black Label will be out next year and
nice. Okay.
Doing some things. And but no, I mean, I'm going to do both.
You're busy.
I have Dark Chapel is rolling with it, and
awesome.
I'm psyched to be building it. So
it's
very cool that you were able to jump on and pair up with Zakk Sabbath. Of course, the right people, and it's funny is there's a small chance I might catch you in Tulsa. That's where my mom lives, and it's like a week and a half before Christmas. So if I time things right, and I think I can handle Tulsa that long, I'll have to hit you up.
Yeah, definitely. That'll be fun.
And that venue is 100-something-year-old venue. It's very historic.
What's the name of it?
It's called the Tulsa Theater now. It was called the Brady Theater. I think it was Brady or Brody. I think it's Brady. But then they found out he had some affiliations way back, and they changed it.
Okay.
But I saw ZZ Top at this place. It's a fantastic room. I mean, it's a theater. You know what I mean? Old school theater. It's badass.
Awesome. Yeah. There's a lot of cool venues.
A lot of good rooms, I'm sure. Zakk Sabbath polls.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Awesome. Fantastic, man. Well, Dario, man, thanks for coming on. Anything else you want to, let the listeners know about Dark Chapel, or anything else you got coming up, or in the works, or where should we send everybody to go check out, Dark Chapel, and just keep up with you on social media and all that good stuff?
Yeah, just go to darkchapelband.com, and everything, it'll take you to everywhere from there. And we're on the road all the rest of the year, starting in October. So if you're out there somewhere in one of those places, come on out.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really, really a good. God, it's going to be a good thing for you guys to get you guys in front of a lot more people. I think a lot more people. I think a lot of people from our heavy underground scene, like bands like Black Label Society and Clutch and COC. It's kind of like the established version of the heavy rock, stoner rock family tree, if you will. And so we hope a lot of folks that are watching the show check you out as well. Are you on Bandcamp by any chance?
Yeah, Dark Chapel's on Bandcamp.
Good. Okay. That's always a good way to get folks into it as well. So we're real pumped and excited to have you here today. And man, we'll see you in just a couple months. We'll see you at the COC show.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks to both of you guys for having me on here.
Yeah.
It's about who's got the passion, man, who's into music for real.
The apple didn't fall far from the tree.
It's Trev's daddy, he's big shit, it's Bill Church.
My dad was always in bands. People know my dad from Montrose, Sammy Hagar, Van Morrison.
We used to be such a tight unit, and we would always do things together as a unit. the infighting just got worse and worse and worse.
Didn't actually seem like we were living up to the hype, I guess you could say, in like a business sense.
But everybody in this band gets along really, really well. We're four brothers. We really are.
The rock and roll cliche. Yeah, we were a rock and roll cliche, you know. Shit went down and stuff was done.
Like there's no bands here, man.
Wasteland. Like it's where local bands go to die.
They said they did not want me in the band.
Eric was the driver and the glue behind that band.
It was a struggle in the beginning with the business, but now it's basically paying off for all my dreams.
For me, it's like me up against all the Van Halen kids.
He's quest-driven. His dad got cut. It's like Luke Skywalker.
We know our clock is done, our time is up, but we just do it because we like to do it.
SoCal Heavy Jam, a bunch of friends throwing down on a great stage with an amazing sound system.
If I stopped and I got out of the band, I think I'd really still enjoy putting it on.
One of the premier scenes for heavy rock in America.
There is a group of knuckleheads that like this stuff, and I think we're having a freaking blast doing it.
In ways, it's more fun now, I think, because we don't do any of the stupid shit you did back then, you know?
Why do I do it? Because, you know, the easiest answer, because I love doing it.